Hey scholars, hope you're all doing well. This is a video for our final exam. So as you know, based on what the syllabus says, we have one examination for the entire course, and that will be taken this week. This is final exam week. So make sure you have the final exam guide out in front of you. I'm sure most of you already do, but make sure you're referencing the final exam guide as you're listening to this video, as I'll cover everything in there. Okay, so congratulations. We're in the final week of the semester, so that's got to feel good for most of you. Of course, our class is probably just one of several courses that you're taking. So hang in there. You're almost done. Keep pushing through. This is the home stretch. It's the toughest part in many ways. It's a lot of us professors and students alike. We're in this like high of we have so much work to do. We have so much to get done. It's the holiday season. You're tired. You've been going at it for all this time, and you still have a whole nother chunk of work to do, but hang in there, get it done, and then it'll be done. Okay, so the exam is worth 150 points. It covers the PowerPoint lecture videos, the PowerPoint presentations themselves, the PowerPoint lecture videos, of course, the class textbooks, the course textbook. The exam consists of multiple choice questions, true false statements, and then some short answer questions. There's probably about roughly around 40 questions. Probably no more than 40 questions. So around 40 questions of the true false multiple choice, and then just a few short answer questions. So I think there's 3 short answer questions. So you have 2 hours to complete the online exam. So this is an online exam. It'll be taken through Canvas. Fixing that right now. It says Blackboard. It was Blackboard last semester. Everything's Canvas this semester. Hope you like Canvas. The deadline is Sunday, December 12th at midnight, or 11:59 p.m. to be more specific. So that's the last. At that point in time, the exam closes, and there's no makeups. There's no late submission deadline, anything like that. It's the end. It's going to be available Saturday morning, and then it closes at 11:59 p.m. on Sunday the 12th. So as you know, the final exam schedule for Cal Poly Pomona for the fall semester 2021, the final exam schedule week is the 6th through the 12th. So Monday, December 6th through Sunday, December 12th. That's the whole final exam week. And what I have typically been doing, especially during COVID and just during online classes, I schedule my exam at the end of the week, the very end of the week. And most of my students are very happy with that, because that way you're not juggling this exam in the mix of all your other exams or projects or papers or whatever it is you're working on at this time. So anyways, that's when it is. It's available Saturday morning, so that's as soon as you could take it. It closes Sunday night by 11:59 p.m. So the final exam time period generally is an hour and 50 minutes. If you take an in-class final exam for Cal Poly Pomona, it's an hour 50 minutes. I give you 2 hours, just a little extra time to just account for the fact that it's a new way of taking an exam for you. Although some of you may have taken an exam before online or Canvas. But of all my students, some of you have never taken an exam through Canvas, and some of you have taken several exams through Canvas. The latest that you can begin the exam to receive the full 2-hour window is basically 10 p.m. on Sunday. So please don't wait till the last minute because of all the different types of things that may or may not happen, right? Let's say I don't know, if there's some sort of issue. So basically the way it works, to my understanding, let's say you begin taking the exam at 11 p.m. and you're thinking, oh, I'll be fine, I'll finish it in an hour. Well, even if you're not finished, if you begin taking the exam at 11 p.m. on Sunday and you're not finished, I believe once the clock strikes midnight, it closes you out of the exam module. It records all your answers, so you don't lose any work. You don't lose your answers. It's not like it erases them, but it takes what you've currently done, kicks you out of the system, and then it's, the module is closed, the exam is closed. In a way, it's almost similar to, let's say we were taking an exam in the classroom, and if the cutoff was, let's say, 2 p.m. on a Friday, it would be like me saying, all right, class, at 2 p.m., pencils are down, right? Same kind of similar sort of concept. So wherever you're at 2 p.m., that's when it's finished. So if it were an in-person exam in a classroom, let's say you showed up really late, be like, well, hey, you showed up late. The start time was 12 noon and you showed up at 1 p.m. So you'll have till 2 p.m. You don't get extra time just because you showed up late. Hopefully that makes sense. So yeah, once the clock strikes midnight, to my knowledge, you get kicked out. Sort of like the Cinderella effect. Anyhow, so the short answer questions, obviously multiple choice true false. If it's correct, it's correct. If it's not correct, it's not correct. But the short answer questions are graded on the degree to which they're competent. So well written, you explain well, you use good grammar. I'm not so super concerned about like spelling and that kind of stuff, but explaining things coherently. Grammar is important, but more importantly, like the content. But if there's excessive typos, errors, or it's like sloppy looking, that goes into the way I grade. But I grade holistically, as you know, you should know by now. The way I grade is I look at the big picture. So they're competent, accurate, meaning, you know, it's an accurate answer to the whatever answer you're providing. It makes sense, like it's the actual right answer. So if I said what's 2 + 2 and you said 5, and here's why I think it's 5, it's like, well, that's not 5, it's 4. Hopefully that makes sense, but it needs to be correct. And then complete. So it needs to be complete. So fully addressing each component of the question. So some of the questions will be multifaceted. There'll be a few different components to the question. And yeah, so if there's like 3 parts to a question and you only address one part, maybe it's excellent. It's very competent and very accurate, and yet only addressing that one component. Well, then, you know, you'll get graded well for that one component, but if you only answer 1/3 of a question, you certainly aren't going to get full credit. So that's that. Pretty straightforward. I've been doing exams like this for a while, and to this point in time, I haven't, with the way I structure the final exam guide, with the way I explain things right now, and the way I structure the actual exams on Canvas, I haven't had students saying that they're confused or that it's complicated or anything like that. So that's good news. I say that because some of you might be thinking, oh my gosh, what's going to be like taking an exam on Canvas if you've never taken it before. I definitely try to cater to that, and I make things as simple as possible. For example, the way I structure the questions is that you're able to see all the questions at once. Some professors structure an online exam through Canvas where you have to answer one question to advance onto the next question. So let's say you're on number 4. The only way you can get to number 5 is by answering number 4. I don't do that for a variety of reasons. I think it's more pedagogically appropriate to give you the opportunity to skip. So in other words, you can see all questions at once. So you don't necessarily have to start with question 1. You can start with question 2 or question 3 or question 4. I recommend just going in order, you know, the traditional way. But my point is, let's say you answer question 1, you got it. You answer question 2, you got it. You get to number 3 and you're thinking, oh gosh, I'm kind of stumped on that one. Oh man, I don't know. Well, you can skip number 3 and then make sure you come back to it. But the point is, like, if you get stuck on a question, my advice to you is move on and then make sure you go back to that question and make sure you answer it before you submit all your work. Oh, by the way, the thing that you click on, once you click on the button to begin your exam, once you click on that button, the time starts. So don't click on it until you're ready. So you won't even see the exam available until Saturday morning. And then, you know, in Canvas, you'll see where it says, obviously it says final exam information, and then you'll see where it says final exam worth 150 points, deadline Sunday at midnight, right? You'll see that just like an assignment. When you click on that, then you'll be taken to the screen that says time and when it's due and all that kind of stuff. But then you'll see a button that says, I believe it says take the quiz. So they've changed how this looks over the years, and I'm not exactly sure what it is right now, but it'll be very intuitive. It'll say take the quiz, begin attempt, start attempt, take exam, something like that. So once you click that button, time starts. There's no do-over. So make sure you're ready. So one thing I really want to emphasize for everyone's safety and overall, to make sure that you know what's at stake here. So this is an open book, open note, open internet exam. Nevertheless, you must adhere to all standards of Cal Poly Pomona's academic integrity, which I reference here below. I highly recommend that as a student of any college, our college is Cal Poly Pomona, but as a student of any university, it behooves you to understand the way that a college handles issues of academic dishonesty or issues that violate students engage in certain things that violate academic integrity. It's very important. All colleges take it seriously. I personally worked at 7 colleges, community colleges, public, private universities, and all of them take it very seriously. Also, just as a note, Canvas refers to the exam as a quiz. That's just how they call it. So in case you get confused, you're like, wait, why does it say quiz? That's just what they call it. So I'm going to give you I'm going to be talking about academic integrity and giving you structure for how to prepare for this exam. Some of the basics, make sure you have water. Make sure you have everything you think you'll need for the exam before you begin. Have water, have some snacks, wear comfortable clothing. Make sure you have organized notes, your textbook, battery charger, if you're using a laptop, anything that you think you might need for using your computer for this. Make sure you're using a reliable computer with a stable internet connection and that you're in a location that promotes an ideal distraction-free learning environment. If you're taking this exam on your computer, let's say you're trying to take it from a mobile device or tablet or something like that, and you're in your kitchen and your little brother, your little sister does something and it distracts you, pushes the button and it erases everything, that's very unfortunate, but you don't get a do-over. So take this seriously, and not that I don't think you would, but I've had some students over the years tell me how they've been in some situation where they're taking this from their phone or a mobile device and then something went wrong. Don't do that, right? Don't do what other students have done, because then it really affects their grade quite negatively. So you're strongly encouraged to take this from a laptop or desktop computer. I'm not going to be there with you. Can't tell you what to do or what not to do, but you're strongly advised not to take the exam from a mobile device like your cell phone or a tablet or anything like that. Yeah, but it's very important that you ensure you're just by yourself, distraction-free learning environment. Be strategic. You have plenty of time to find out, like, hey, maybe you need to coordinate with your roommates, with whoever you live with, your parents, your grandparents, make sure that you have that 2-hour block of time where you're not going to be interrupted. And if you have a very busy, loud, distracting environment, hey, maybe see if you can take it at a neighbor's house or go to a family member's house. Like, just make sure you take care of yourself. Make sure you set this up correctly so you don't run into an issue where you're taking the exam and all of a sudden, like, your roommate or someone says, like, hey, I need that computer, or like something goes wrong, right? That would be unfortunate. So that's one of the caveats of taking an online class, especially one that's like ours, which is asynchronous, where this class basically forces you to be completely independent and responsible, and to make sure that you're conforming to the fact that this is an online environment. It's an online classroom, and it's very different from an in-person physical classroom. Okay, that's that. So with academic integrity, so you must take this exam by yourself with absolutely no assistance from any other person. No one at all. You're the only, from the time that you begin the exam till the time that you submit the exam and that you're completely finished, you are not to receive any assistance from any person in any form or fashion. I really want to emphasize that. Obviously, you're alone, but I want you to know that, I want you to know how that the university handles these types of situations. So, like I said, you're not permitted to get help or work on this assignment with any other person. Everything submitted must be your own original work. If there is any suspicion And there's all different ways there's all different types of signs that might indicate suspicion of academic dishonesty. But if there is any suspicion of academic dishonesty or plagiarism, it will undergo the scrutiny of the processes outlined in Title V, Division 5, Chapter 1, Subchapter 4, Article 2, Section 41301. That's our Cal Poly Pomona's stance on academic dishonesty, academic integrity. So I highly recommend that you read these bullet points. I recommend that you click on these hyperlinks to understand the nature of student conduct and integrity, academic integrity, and of course the sanctions. So sanctions are the consequences for violating the different codes of student conduct. So some examples would be suspension, expulsion, loss of financial aid. I pulled some up here. Fines, denial of access to the campus, housing dismissal, eviction. So, you know, you could, if you live on campus, you could be permanently moved out of the housing, and you might be prevented from ever reapplying for residency. Housing probation. A lot. I'm not trying to scare you, but I want you to know what happens, because sometimes students might do something not realizing, oh, I didn't know what was going to happen. Now you know, right? I never had professors telling me about this kind of stuff when I was a college student, and I was a college student for several years, 12 altogether. So I want to make sure you know that. In my career of having been a professor, I've had a handful of cases where I caught a student engaging in some form, caught a student or a group of students engaging in some form of academic integrity or an academic integrity violation. I create a report, I send it off to the powers that be, and then they handle it. In other words, I don't determine what happens to you. If you're suspected of engaging in cheating or violating some sort of student conduct code, specifically in light of this final exam, whatever it might be, I would look into it. And if I felt strongly that this was a valid case, I would create a report and send it off. At that point, the committee decides what to do. It's not up to me to decide what to do. Like, oh, this person deserves a warning, this person deserves a fine, whatever the case might be. I tell you this so that you understand the nature of how this is related to our class and the process of you taking this final exam, and also for the rest of your entire courses and the rest of your entire future at Cal State Poly, at Cal Poly Pomona, and any other college that you go to. It's important to know these things. So that's that. As long as you don't cheat, you got nothing to worry about. So again, I'm not trying to scare you, but sometimes students have told me, like, this sounds like really scary when they hear me talking about these kinds of things, because it's really serious. And I've had students over the years tell me things that have happened to them. They said that there's something that happened, and then there was a case, and then they were undergoing all kinds of scrutiny for different types of things, and then they were getting, you know, shunned by their community and their network. And sometimes it's a matter of a miscommunication, and sometimes it's willful like a willful intention to cheat the system. So be smart, and, you know, be honest and have integrity. And if you do that, then you got nothing to worry about. Okay. So that's that. Here are the sections. So that last page, page 2, I say here are the topics, concepts you should study from the following chapters and related content. So basically, it's not a cumulative test. I'm not in a sense, I'm not testing you on everything from every single chapter that we've had, but chapters 3, 12, 10, 6, and 9. So I give you the sections to study. So that really minimizes the amount of work that you have to do. So these are the sections. So our textbook has, you know, headings, subheadings, subheadings, and so on and so forth. Study these. These are the ones that these sections are where the questions are coming from. So it's this information and related content. Related content could be something that I talked about in the lecture. So what I recommend, or I'll back up a little bit. If you've done all the reading, and if you've done the reading, you've stayed up to date on the reading, you've reviewed your reading, you've watched all the PowerPoint lecture, the PowerPoint presentations, along with listening to the PowerPoint lecture videos and taking notes on those and reviewing those, then the studying for you is going to be very easy. And the less that you've done of that, then the more work that the studying is going to be. I'll just kind of simplify it by saying that. Regardless of where you're at, if you've done all the reading, I would still recommend to review the entire chapter. I would say review all of chapter 3, review all of chapter 12, review all the chapters going to be on here. So do a quick review of the entire chapter, like briefly review the entire chapter, and then go back into those sections where it says characteristics of effective presentation, the voice, the body, etc. Go back into the specific sections and then take some detailed notes. So what I recommend is having an exam outline study guide. That's how I began studying when I didn't start studying this way until I was a graduate student. So when I was a graduate student, whatever form of exam study guide my professor would give us, I would take that study guide and then I go line by line, topic by topic, chapter by chapter, whatever it is. And then I would go and I would create a detailed outline. You know, it could be bullet point outline, it could be Roman numeral outline, doesn't really matter. But the point is I would have a detailed outline where I would just review my notes. I'd look through my notes, I'd look through the textbook, and I'd just start typing. Kind of like free flow, conscious sort of typing. Wasn't really concerned about structure, grammar, spelling. I was just like, I wanted to get the information out there. I'd write things in my own words. I'd write things out and explain them in my own way, so that way I understood it. So basically, like, if you understand this stuff, you're going to be able to do well on the exam. So don't underestimate the complexity of an open book, open note, open internet exam, because you don't want to be just thinking, oh, I'll just look it up when I take the exam. I got 2 hours. Some people do that, and you know, whether or not they get a good grade it's an empirical question. But what I'm telling you is how to prepare in the best way possible. To do that, the best way, in my opinion, from my own experience and from having talked to a lot of students, make a detailed outline. And then, you know, in your textbook, I would say for each chapter, take like a little Post-it note. You can buy those little skinny Post-it note, like rectangular Post-it notes, where they're like little, basically like little tabs. You put. That's what I do in certain books that I would have. Not so much for, sometimes for taking an open book test. I would do that because I took a lot of open book tests in college and in graduate school. They were a lot harder than I thought because the questions were not tricky, but very challenging. So I would recommend that, taking the little skinny Post-it notes and just writing, you know, for chapter 3, characteristics of effective presentation. Abbreviate that in some way, and then just, you know, just put it on the side, or just use a regular size Post-it note, maybe cut it in half. Doesn't really matter to me. And then at the end of all your studying, you have 5 chapters and several sections. At the end of all your studying, you'll have, you know, you would have like all these like Post-it notes that serve as essentially like tabs. That way, when you get to a question, you're like, oh, that question is dealing with that section of chapter 12. Boom, you go right to chapter 12. Instead of taking that extra time to like thumb through things or look in the index or look at the table of contents, every time you do that, in other words, if you don't have a system, like an organized system where you have those tabs and you're just looking, if you're just thumbing through things, looking at the table of contents and or the index or just thumbing through, what that's doing is it's systematically increasing test taker fatigue. So regardless of how well you know a topic, even if you're like, I know this topic so well, after having taken a test, after having spent so much time on a test, your brain just gets tired and you get test taker fatigue. And so being really well prepared in advance, it minimizes that, right? Having things like have your whole desk cleared. If you saw my desk, you'd be like, what are you talking about? I have a really messy desk. I have a messy office. Sorry, this is how I work. But if I'm going to take an open book, open note, open internet exam, I'm going to have, you know, nothing on my desk. I'll have my textbook. I'll have my notes. I got my water, got my snacks, and that's it. Maybe like have a pen or pencil. Also, as a side note, I highly recommend that you close out of every single other application on your computer. The only application that you should have up is Cal Poly Pomona Canvas. That's the only thing you should have up. Close out. Don't just minimize, but close out of any other app that you have on there. Any social media, any email, anything. The only tab that should be open is Canvas. I could go into extensive detail about why that is, but that's my advice. So hopefully you take it. So yeah, do that. I highly recommend that you create tabs, and then that way when you're taking the exam, you're all organized and all that stuff. You know what to look for, you know where to look for the things that you need. And that's about it. The other thing is when you get to the, when you get to the short answer questions, I haven't mentioned this in the past, but now that I think about it, I would say a really good way, in my opinion, from personal experience, past experience of having taken I've taken lots and lots of exams that are on the computer that are timed, that where you have a question and then you have to type in a text box. Sometimes just the logistics of doing that, you see the question on the screen and you have to type your answer in a text box. I don't know. It's just I don't really like typing that way. That's not how my brain works. I like looking at a Word document, like a blank Word document, instead of like all this stuff on a computer screen, like all the other questions and whatnot. So what you could do is when it comes to the short answer questions, you might consider even just opening up a Word document, and then for that specific short answer question, maybe you shorten the screen, like you have the Canvas screen and then you minimize it. Or if you're able to copy and paste the question, I don't know if you can. I don't know if you're able to do that. I would say don't try to do anything more than just answer the question. But all that to say, you might type your answer first in a Microsoft Word document and then copy and paste that into Canvas. The only caveat with that is, as I'm thinking about it now, the only caveat might be that it might be tricky with copying and pasting from Microsoft Word into the Canvas text box. Another workaround would be using Notepad. That was called? Yeah, the Notepad app. And I believe that's specific to PCs. I'm sure Macs might have their own version of that. But the Notepad app is basically like, it's just plain text. You've probably seen it before. It's the icon for the Notepad app. It's been around forever. It's like super old school. But the icon, it's like a light blue shiny notepad. It's like a notepad that you open up. But the text in there is like really basic. You can't do you can't do, and you do numbers, but you can't do symbols or special characters or anything like that. But for some tricky magical reason, a lot of times you're able to copy and paste from there into any text box on websites. If that sounds confusing to you, if you're thinking like, oh gosh, I don't know if I want to do that, I don't want to like mess myself up, then don't do it, right? I'm just giving you options because I have a lot of students who are taking this exam. So I'm just giving you options for how you might utilize all the different options for how you might answer your questions. But the safe bet is you just stick to Canvas. The most that you might do is use them. I said close out all other applications, but Microsoft Word is an application that doesn't take a whole lot of memory processing speed, if you will. Having multiple tabs open takes up a lot more power from your computer, increasing the likelihood that something would crash. So I'm giving you a lot to think about. Have a plan. You don't have to take my advice, but I'm just giving you advice for what I believe is the best way to prepare for this exam based on my experience. So have a plan, be strategic, and please don't wait till the last minute to take the exam for your own benefit. Doesn't matter to me, like it's not like it affects me. It affects you. If you start your exam too late and you're not giving yourself enough time, if you like, oh, I'll start my exam at 10:30 p.m. on Sunday night, that gives me an hour and a half. Well, yeah, but then you might be working under pressure and it might be extremely stressful, which it could systematically affect memory recall and just affect your overall ability to think in the way that you would be thinking if you had taken it earlier. So That's that for the final exam for our course. It's the last thing that you have going on. As you know, the special occasion speech is due Tuesday? Yeah, Tuesday the 7th by midnight. I see that some of you already did that. Some of you already submitted your special occasion speech. But bottom line, this is the last thing that you have in our class. And that's it. Hope you're all doing well. Work hard, get rest, take breaks as you're studying, eat good, drink plenty of water. Don't drink too much coffee, but if you drink coffee, maybe you drink more than you typically drink, but don't drink too much. Go to bed, get sleep, don't party. Hang in there for the next week. Wait till you're, I know you might be chomping at the bit. You're just like, you want to decompress and do fun things, but just hang in there. Don't shoot yourself in the foot. I say all these things from having thousands of students who have told me things that they did during final exam week that they really regret. So hang in there, work hard, and then you're almost done. 1 week from today, pretty much all of you will be completely done with the semester. Have a good week. Talk to you later.